And this one of the seminal papers of description of this, attention is all you need, where you can see the architecture of the transformer. Most of the LLMs have this transformer, and that's what we call GPT, is generative pre-trained transformer. And there's 3, 3.5, 4, and now 5 coming, we'll see, based on the data. But all these LLMs have the same architecture. They only perform a small constant number of steps, typically chosen empirically, and enables to scale to billions of parameters, which is important in cancer research. In each step, it does self-attention mechanisms, which model the relationships between words and sentence or the items that we are looking into the attention at this point in time. So can we use this now? Is this really meaningful? And the answer is yes. So MIT and GE Healthcare just did a survey, not just a couple of years ago, where they found and asked clinicians if there's opportunity for the use of AI. And many of them says yes, mostly to make automated cancer diagnosis, improve prediction capabilities, real-time data updates for research, personalized attention, optimize results, and increase efficiency that eventually reduces cost and can be reinvested into the same process. So if you look at the potential use cases of Gen AI in cancer research, this is my list, but it is not comprehensive, it's long, but there's a lot of opportunities I'm assuming that you can find here as well. So first of all, you can see improvement on record keeping. You can use it for real-time translation. You can enhance clinical trials by optimizing inclusion criteria or connecting with participants. You can help to develop symptom checkers and optimize CTCAE criteria, medical education enhancement and awareness as well, so people understand in their own terms what the trial means, so you have increased adoption. You can use Gen AI for drug discovery, risk assessment, as I mentioned earlier, too, broader healthcare applications, and applicable in disease surveillance, medical writing, triage, retention, and more. So there's a lot of opportunities here that we're going to go in depth into some of those. Of course, based on the limited amount of time, we can probably spend a whole day on doing this, but I'm going to be as practical as possible to help move the conversation further. So the first component is data structuring, right? It's one of the biggest challenges we have in research. We are basically every day as director of research, I have to sign a gazillion papers. I have to go through, shuffle multiple things, reports for patients and beyond, not only for the clinical trials themselves, but also the clinical data. And all this gets complicated by medical ontologies that come with the data. They come from different structured sources or unstructured sources. So we can find solutions that effectively use these systems and LLMs allowing us to do so. So the first component of these LLMs, beyond the transformer part, is that when we integrate it with other AI components, such as optical character recognition, natural language processing, and they use the Gen AI to solve data structuring component, it can seek information that has not been organized in a preset model. So Massive Bio, what I do is I just upload a medical record and it gives me a full summary in a template that I can use then for matching for many clinical trials at the same time. But this is just an example of that. It can be used for many other reported mechanisms and for utilization by multiple stakeholders, from the CRO to the sponsors to sites themselves and for feasibility. And the good news is that this can be used independently or combined with other data sets, insurance claims, etc. And the idea is to combine lab data, clinical notes, genomic data, monitoring data, and medical images all combined. So this is the schematics here from this good paper is showing us how we can potentially do it using its data lake and develop the model. And if you check, for example, the ChatGPT performance on PubMed questions, can we use this in not just cancer research, but any other related field? Because cancer is not just one field; it has multiple, derivatives from that. And the answer is yes. When you go deeper into this tree here, you can see that in the cancer research, you can look at cancer biology, diagnosis, treatment, prevention, and control. Able to remember, understand a lot of it, apply some of this knowledge, and evaluate and create. So these models are being optimized and getting better every day. So the conversation today probably much different in a year from now, which I'm excited to know about. So what are the potential use cases of Gen AI in cancer research operations? So operations is different from just the use case standard. Can we use this to optimize what we call value-based care? Is it really meaningful for us to use these tools? That is it worth the effort? And the answer to me is yes. There's a lot of potential if we use it right. Not necessarily has to be attached to an electronic health record system, but you're using a cloud-based could be much better optimized based on the silos that exist globally. But for research, we can use it for electronic data capture protocol digitization. So we can synthesize the notes, the protocol. It can help us to create summaries of what the patient is supposed to get that day or what the patient went through during that schedule of events. It can automate tasks such as remember the team functions. Can help my research coordinator to understand what is the next step for my patient based on certain parameters. It can use chatbots and LLM-based clinical trial matching, as I mentioned earlier. We can use it as well for adherence, retention, and satisfaction of patients. So once again, tell them what's ahead of them in terms of the clinical trial journey, so they really understand the molecule, the treatment options, what is coming, so they really understand the whole schematic, because it can be overwhelming. So you understand in your own terms, it has a much better use case. And then I can analyze the registries beyond so we can get full analytics from that information. So why is this relevant? Because there's a lot of interesting designs coming up, particularly in oncology, right? We have the umbrella trials, we have the basket trials. All of them are using multiple arms biomarkers, and it gets complicated. So, and one example is the combo match, which is the NCI using all the cooperative groups. It's a very large precision medicine initiative inspired by the NCI match, now going even further with multiple treatment options in combinations. So can we use Gen AI to improve that? And the potential answer is yes. If you just simply look at the current models in medical care, right? So this is MedPalm 2, which was trained by Google Health's research teams with medical knowledge, can answer, summarize insights from a lot of text, and portfolio, clinical trials can be part of that as well. It achieves medical competency, basically to a level of USMLE taking the test. So sometimes, we had to spend many years to just test taking. Doesn't mean the expertise of being a physician, but just to answer questions. This is pretty decent in the terms of the job, and I believe that there is more updates on this model as well. We can use it for example, ChatGPT or other models such as Gemini that are coming up, where we can use it for enrollment in clinical trials for patients to understand questions about the research, but also, for example, to solve queries about certain mutations. So this is an example of finding, for example, biallelic mutations in the somatic tumor, and see if this is an eligible criteria for the patient to enroll in a particular trial. So, and it gives you references, and you can actually assess if the variants that you're seeing in front of you can have a potential pathway to actionability in terms of clinical trial matching in front of you. Okay, so what other things are coming up in Gen AI and overall AI as a whole for research? So we can use AI in cancer diagnostic optimization. We heard that, and we will hear from other speakers today, but an average radiologist must interpret an image every 3 to 4 seconds to maintain the workflow. And we have a lot of sustained unintentional blindness that can appear. And these are technologies now able to use similar models to detect pixel level changes in tissue invisible to the human eye. So I always like to bring this in my lectures because it shows you just how interesting this is. I don't have an audience in front of me right now to look at this, but look at the 2 images, A and B. If you may have missed this, there's a gorilla here on the part where you see the blue dot. There is something called sustained unintentional blindness, which means that as we're averaging in our brain, we may seem to not see the gorilla in the room. So this is exactly what happened. Everyone look at the eyes with the eyesight on that spot, but at least 60-70% of folks miss it. And I was myself included the first time I saw this. So using Gen AI, there's a specific opportunity here called Generative Adversarial Networks, or GANs, which has a 2 component. One is a transformer, of course, that has a generator and a discriminator. So the generator is basically the one that has the real images that are trained here. and then the discriminator is telling you if they're fake or they're real based on the ground truth. In this example here is telling you, for example, how to use GANs for brain tumor segmentation. So in this example here as well, you can use these applications for image synthesis to cross-modality image translation. You can use for denoising and reconstruction, the segmentation that we just went through as in the prior slide, and then also for disease modeling, using that data and the discriminator to tell us, what is real versus what is fake, and how we can use it compared to the ground truth. And this is being used now in radiation oncology treatments. So this is an AI tool designed by a team at the University of Toronto that's shown promise, basically reducing the amount of time spent on replicating treatment plans that typically spend several days doing this. Using the generative adversarial networks, it took about 20 minutes. And it was almost as good as the effort done by the humans in a much more efficient way. And there's also Radon GPT. So for those who are interested in learning more of how this can be used in research, this is a great example as well, where you can input some information and then you get not only clinician generable information that we can use for our own education or for our own summarization of data, but also to help our patients in their cancer journey, particularly around cancer research. And this is used as a Llama 2 model. So now imagine a future where cancer types such as pancreatic cancer, that's one of the main use focus of my daily practice and research, where we have no good screening. We can use Gen AI and determine, or with these machine learning models, how to maybe with pre-trained images find patients that may be at risk or they're going to develop pancreatic cancer. That will be a game changer. So there's some data this is presented just a couple of months ago, where they were able to use those images to find potential patients that may have predicted to have cancer. We can use it as well for assessment of lesions in the same way we do it for screening for cancer, can be used as well potentially for CTCAE assessment. So the same way we are looking at diagnosis, we can maybe assess for rashes or for specific lesions that could be related to the treatments that we are giving to patients, and being able to grade it appropriately in places where, for example, dermatologist is not available in real time to make a secondary confirmation, or just to grade appropriately for the purposes of safety and monitoring. Another opportunity here is, you've seen this Chalabi plot, right? Which is how these patients with MSI high, that means that everyone got the biomarker testing done in time, were able to respond to basically which aimed to be neoadjuvant, but actually became definitive immunotherapy in patients with MSI high colon cancer. But there's always this component of patients that they didn't respond well. So we saw the same in rectal cancer with the dostarlimab trial here, where patients with MSI high, they didn't even require surgery or radiation, just use checkpoint inhibitors, and they had a complete response to the point that they basically are deemed potentially cured. So how can we find those patients using Gen AI? Because not every patient has the same pattern, and not all the cancers behave the same. So when you see the overlap in MSI, tumor mutational burden, and PD-L1 by cancer type, they're all different, right? So this is data that tell us that if just looking at one biomarker is going to help us, maybe being much more broader using these tools can really help us to predict. And using the same techniques, maybe use this across the cancer journey, right? So now we can use liquid biopsies, for example, which can be useful for early detection, for molecular residual disease, for recurrent surveillance across, from diagnosis to the last touch point with the patient. Maybe is there a way that if we use these tools and use Gen AI to predict those potential cancer journeys in a more effective way, can we get information in real time? So more to follow. So, but is there any specific use case now that we can actually determine this? Yes, microbiome. So 40 years ago, we learned from those Nobel Prize winners Barry Marshall and Robin Warren that they were mocked because they said that H. pylori caused gastric cancer and ulcers. In theory, they said instead of doing that, they didn't have a model to do. they ingested themselves the bacteria and developed ulcers. So now we have H. pylori as a carcinogenic because of them. But can we use Gen AI and machine learning to predict if there's any specific, bacterium that can cause cancer or can predict the presence of cancer? And this is a multi-cohort analysis of colorectal cancer metagenomes across patients from China, Austria, United States, Germany, and France, where we found when there's these 7 different bacterium present, we can, very accurately predict the presence of colorectal cancer. So can we use this as well to model on other, cancer types as well using the microbiome? And not only that, but we can maybe act upon it and change the microenvironment where, for example, the gut microbiome in melanoma with metagenomic studies have shown that if you have a higher abundance of immunotoxic bacteria, those patients respond better to checkpoint inhibitors. And this study from Felisa McAllister in MD Anderson showed also that the microbiota it has a meaningful outcome and difference when you have higher alpha diversity in the microbiome of these patients with our long-term survival from pancreas cancer. So the future is pretty bright. We just need to use those tools properly using Gen AI and beyond. So we talk about large language models. How about large visual models? This is basically what we call the segment anything models, where visual prompt engineering is using these tools to analyze images using AI, kind of the same way we're doing with segmentation of images on the radiology side. But can we use this as well for what we call a zero-shot capabilities? Basically, you just find it right away without any additional training. We have some tools in digital pathology in AI. So this is the Page AI effort that now they're partnering with Microsoft as well, where they improve the cancer detection in individuals' life for responses. But now can we use it for responses to treatment before and after the clinical trial has been implemented for those patients? And we have this new Dino version 2 training module that is using about 1 million images from pathology. And this work from Page AI and Microsoft is going to be an interesting one to follow because it's going to be able to give us those different cohorts as well. And how that can help us. So just an example here, this is just published in August this year. You can use using just these pre-trained models, the presence of PD-L1 expression prior to neoadjuvant treatment in these patients with non-small cell lung cancer with stage 1, 2, when you cannot have a biopsy, when it's not determinable by biopsy. So can we spare tissue for more analytics? Can we use this to enroll patients in trials or determine why a treatment option didn't work because potentially this biomarker that wasn't tested now is testable, right? And then it leads us to the multi-model deep learning model. So this is from Cancer Cell. This is the largest analysis so far reported, about 14 individual cancer types, using histology, genomics, multimodal neural networks, and then putting patient risk analysis doing this. And you can see the model here with the images, how the transformers are there. Of course, you can put some GANs for a number of this. And at the end of the day, you can stratify those patients. There is a very interesting tool. You can use it. You can go to pancancer.mammuthlab.org for your own entertainment, which sometimes I do. This is in pancreas cancer. So one of those close to my heart, showing you all the different segmentations across the tumor and the microenvironment and mutational background and beyond. We can use these algorithms as well for biomarker predictability. So this tool is aimed to show us potentially if a medication can be FDA approved. So I'm certain Brad Lunker and others will be interested to use these tools as well to predict what potential drugs are going to be most successful. So we're going to learn more from that. And the idea here is to start using, explainable programs. Is there anything that goes beyond just generative AI? But can we enable human users to understand, trust, and appropriately manage these technologies so we can get closer to what we call to AGI, or artificial general intelligence and research. So this is the hypothetical type of agent that is intelligent, that if it's accomplished, it can become ideally, as a human or be a co-pilot for us. But the idea is that if AGI is achieved, it can surpass our capabilities for many economically valuable tasks. So DeepMind had a couple of generative models here, Gato, like, cat and flamingo. They can play Atari and do image captioning and beyond with a few short learning models with multimodal approaches as well. But they're going now deeper. So if we look at ChatGPT, so they have what we call sparks of AGI. This is in the medical field, how the both open domain and closed domain hallucination, can happen, but still you're able to extract the data and being able to provide insights that are near human capability and sometimes surpass it. And because of that, they Google and DeepMind has been using it for therapeutic discovery. So this is the DeepMind AlphaFold, basically trying to solve the Levi-Strauss paradox, which means that it will take longer than the age of a known universe to randomly enumerate all the possibilities of the configurations in a three-dimensional way of a protein if you knew the basic structure. And now they're looking of how to use these, deep learning models to predict this 3D configuration with a pretty successful opportunity. So they're able to find this protein folding problem in a pretty good way. So you can see here on the ground truth is green and the predicted is blue and is almost, overlapping. And because of that, they won the Lasker Award. I would not be surprised if I see some other news from Stockholm on these specific models as well. And beyond that, they are using the same tools for alpha missense, which is to assess protein-wide missense variant effect prediction. So you can not only look at the proteins themselves in the configuration, but also the potential use cases in terms of pathogenic approaches. And I think that this is Dr. Topol's lining on top of it. Drug discovery is something that we are looking into very in depth for Gen AI. And the idea is to translate these mathematical models into assessing the configurational changes that happen at the, charge and predict the structure itself. So we can have a model that can be cross-validated and use image-based profiling and machine learning for drug discovery. So basically, hundreds of machines are taking pictures and using across all cancer types and cell types, including here the nucleus, the ER, the mitochondria, the Golgi apparatus, and the nucleocytoplasmic RNA, and seeing for toxicities and for responses to treatment in real time, so we can do optimization of this lead generation. It is no longer science fiction. This is a group from the University of Southern California, Keck School of Medicine. They found a cancer stem cells hijack the body's circadian block machinery. Using these models, they found a promising molecule, which is SHP656, and now it's tested in a phase 1 clinical trial for glioblastoma. So more to follow on these ones. And lastly, we have the MIT San Francisco BioHub by it's called the Human Cell Atlas by the Mark Zuckerberg Foundation. We will learn more in the future how these single cell models and beyond can be helpful for our patients. In the last 2 minutes, I'm going to talk about the clinical trial paradox and how we can use Gen AI for improvement of our patients and our practices. So the paradox is more than 12 million patients diagnosed with cancer over the last decade, less than 0.1% enrolled in clinical trials, but that 0.1% live better and with better outcomes. 60% of trials close because of lack of enrollment. And that's kind of odd. What do you mean by that? There's all these other patients. And there's 14,000 clinical trials globally with 18 million new patients diagnosed every year. So the solution is to find a technological way to bring patients together in real time in a collaborative environment and doing a patient-centric approach. It can also help us to improve underrepresentation of clinical trials, which we know the FDA and others have told us to do. This is WCG telling us there's a lot of key takeaways. Everyone is interested in working with clinical trials, patients, sites, sponsors, and providers, but the incentives are completely misaligned. And in the United States, for example, all these treatments are offered in a few cancer centers where 85% of the 1.7 million cancer patients are treating in the community base. So Gen AI can help us to utilize social determinants of health and solve barriers by optimizing the workforce, decreasing costs, improving reimbursement and incentives, and increasing knowledge. But we're burnout. Burnout is not from additional work, but from tasks that prevent us from doing what we like to do, which is patient care. For every new click that we had to do, we can decrease by 5% our ability to perform better. And oncologists, of course, are part of that. So that's the reason why I was so inspired to use Gen AI for clinical trial matching. So this is me in Massive Bio. We use all these data sources together, and we develop an app that is basically helping patients to find clinical trials in real time, decreasing costs. There's some data in ASCO. We're using Gen AI for education and for just-in-time activation, and also decentralized clinical trials. The idea here is to use Gen AI to develop a new model. Can we bring the clinical trials to the patients in real time by using AI and also, all the other benefits from operational improvement in a decentralized approach, in a patient-centric approach? So we developed a chatbot that, we don't have too much time, but just to give you a quick example, it's just giving you put questions and give you answers of where a trial is available to you in real time. It gives you updates within 50 miles radius of where you are, and is completely free to patients and physicians. And the idea is to optimize the cancer care across the world. And Gen AI is part of this effort that we're working in. So, but this will not come just by myself. It comes from collaboration. And because of that, we need to understand all these models are coming. For example, the Gemini model, or Gemini, is apparently, based on what they say, is able to comprehend 57 subjects and perform almost to the level of. But this has challenges, and it means that we need to collaborate. We need to still have privacy involvement, have appropriate interpretability and transparency. We need to remove the barriers such as security bias, regulatory compliance, particularly in the European Union, and work in a collaborative approach. So every patient can basically be assessed by these multimodal approaches in real time. We can use this information for clinical trials, incorporate microbiome, and then have multiple stakeholders all coming together. That's why we are part of the Cancer X. So I invite everyone to be part of those efforts. This is something that is going to really revolutionize the cancer journeys for using technologies and beyond. And so we can do these global hubs of evolution for clinical research. So this is my dream, of course, helping patients across the globe in real time find clinical trials and get kind of your Google or Bing alerts for trials in real time, saving everyone's time, effort, and physicians like myself who are busy can focus on taking care of the patient and not the operations. So the Gen AI and related technologies are here and can help us overcome many of the barriers for R&D. Leaders should be prioritizing responsible the use of safe Gen AI, not only safe for the sake of safety, but mostly appropriate one. The future is promising. The interoperability is going to be key to overcome, but we can do it by being patient-centric and focusing on products that focus on the patient by making them the center of the equation. I know that sounds common, but that's something that Gen AI can always help us with. And it's up to us to use the potential to the fullest. For those who want to follow the conversation, have a Medscape column that we can all discuss, send me questions, and I can be happy to put some information there. And please send submissions to us. We want to have the opportunity to collaborate for research, for papers. So send us your submissions to AI and Precision Oncology. We're very excited to receive your papers. And the last one is the Quatre d'Opéra Spécial. This actually won an award in using Midjourney, I believe. And with that image, I thank you for your time and the opportunity for being part of the conversation, and looking forward for more exchanges. Thank you so much.